Hey guys, welcome back. This week we are making jelly-filled donuts. I've also included a raspberry jam recipe in case you wanted something homemade. Let's do this. Before we start our dough, we're going to start with our raspberry jam. Because it's so hot when it comes off the stove that it takes a while for it to set. So a day gives it just enough time for it to fully set into its jam-like state. I'm using the back of my spatula, but you can definitely use a fork or a potato masher to help mash your berries. Once the raspberries start to boil, add in the sugar all at once. Carefully mix it in and wait for it to come back to a boil. Taking a very cold spoon, I just put mine in the freezer for a few minutes. I'm going to be testing out to see if our jam is ready to go. If your jam doesn't stick to the spoon and starts sliding down, then it's not ready. But that's not a problem because it just needs a few more minutes. If you like seeds in your jam, you can skip this step. But I like a smooth texture, so I'm going to be straining my jam. We are almost done, and the last thing we need to do is cover the surface of our jam with plastic wrap. And once that's come to room temp, we're going to transfer it into our fridge and leave it there overnight. For the mixing portion, you are going to need a dough hook. You can also do this by hand, but it will take anywhere from 8 to 15 minutes. I'm starting off at a low speed just to make sure that everything is homogenized and uniformed. Once everything has gotten to that point, we're going to build the speed up and wait until the dough starts to stick to the bottom of the bowl. It has been about 4 minutes on the mixer, and this is what our dough is starting to look like. Once you reach this point, we're ready to move on to the hand mixing portion. Okay, so a little short story. I love making breads. In fact, I first started off savory when I went to school for culinary arts. And then eventually I transferred over to pastry because one day I was working with focaccia dough, and just the feeling of that dough between my fingers and the way that the oil was just gracing it, it was such a foreign touch. And I think from that moment I knew I wanted to participate more on that side of cooking. Once your dough is completely smooth, it is ready for the bulk ferment. And we're gonna let that sit for an hour to an hour and a half, just until it is somewhat doubled in size. If it goes a little bit more than that, that's totally fine. If you're not gonna be using your dough the day of, you can also put it away in the fridge and leave it there overnight. Some even say it gets a better texture that way. It is time for the unveiling. Okay, but in all seriousness, it is time to finally roll out our dough. Make sure to degas your dough before rolling it out, and we're going to roll it about a 1/4 inch thickness. Once you reach that 1/4 inch mark, we're going to be using our 1/2 inch round cutter to cut about 8 to 10 pieces out of the dough. You can always re-roll and reuse any leftovers. I've prepped myself with 3 sheet trays, 2 for the donuts to proof on, and the other for the frying. Make sure to line that one with paper towels so it soaks up all of the grease for when it comes out of the pot. The donuts that are being baked are going to proof for 35 minutes. The ones that are being fried, they're going to proof for a little bit less, around 25 minutes. If the oil's temperature drops, make sure to bring it up before frying any more of your donuts. If you fry the donuts in low temperature, it'll just suck up the grease and you'll taste it when you're eating it. Our donuts are cooled down and ready to be piped. So off the bat, I noticed that the fried ones remind me of an old-fashioned donut. If you ever had one, then you're familiar with its soft, spongy texture. And for the ones that were baked, they definitely resemble a classic donut. And now we'll just have to wait and see what the final product tastes like. I'm just using a pair of tweezers to make holes down the center of the donut. You could also use the back of a wooden spoon or a straw. Filling the donuts reminded me of filling a tire with air. You don't want to put too much or else it's gonna burst. So I like to stop just as I feel the donut expanding. This part is optional. If you feel like putting a little 10x on your donuts, go ahead. I like the classic look, so I'm gonna stick to it. It's a moment we've been all waiting for, the taste test. I'm super excited to try these, but first I gotta go with my bad boys, the fried ones, and see how they came out. As soon as I bit into it, I bit through this soft exterior and then went in for that ooey gooey raspberry jam that we made. It fit so perfectly. The tartness from jam and then the sweetness from the donut and the 10x melded just fine. And as for the baked one, I found it a bit too structured and dry. So clearly, I'm gonna have to go with the fried one. You can never go wrong with the classic. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for tuning in again. And if you guys do decide to make this, please let me know how it works out for you. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.